The setting for today's Feast of the Visitation would never sell in Hollywood. It's just too everyday. Nothing exciting or dramatic. They would have to spice it up to make it a sellable movie. Consider that the main characters are anything but glamorous. On the one hand, you've got a young teenage girl, newly pregnant in an out-of-wedlock situation, who lives in a small rural village. I'm sure Hollywood would make it so that there would be pressure on the girl to get rid of the baby. Then the other person in today's scenario is an over-the-hill wife of a high priest of the Jewish faith, who herself is about 6 months pregnant, this being her first child at an advanced age. The young girl, whom we will call Mary, sets out on a long journey, walking roughly 90 miles through difficult terrain and hostile territory in Samaria. But an interesting thing happens as Mary appears at the doorway of her cousin Elizabeth. Elizabeth immediately senses that Mary is pregnant with the child of God, the long-awaited Messiah. This even though there are no signs that Mary is indeed carrying a child. It is the child in Elizabeth's womb who will become a prophet, and Jesus will call the greatest person born of woman, who recognizes and acknowledges the presence of the divine in their home. John cannot contain himself and leaps in the womb of his mother. Consider what just happened. A child in its mother's womb, whom the world says it is not a person, recognizes another child in another mother's womb. The world would say that that cannot happen, that cannot be, because they do not have human faculties. And Elizabeth praises God with words that will become a prayer, which will be on the lips of millions upon millions of people throughout the ages. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. Rather than advising Mary to get rid of the child, she actually praises Mary for being chosen to carry the one who will become the Savior of the world. Although at that time, no one knew what would transpire. Elizabeth herself would have been a very devout and holy person, being the wife of a high priest. Mary was then overjoyed at hearing her relative's words and affirmation at her decisions, which she had embraced in bearing this child. And then Mary burst out into song with a beautiful prayer of praise, which we call the Magnificat. Can you imagine the consequences for this world if Joseph had followed the dictates of the Jewish law and had Mary stoned? Just such, we will never know the consequences of all of the children of this world who are being rejected and cast out before they even have a chance to breathe their first breath, because they are inconveniences or embarrassments to the mother who is carrying them. We are asked to look not at what this world recommends or even pressures us into believing, and maybe even sometimes beyond the strict dictates of the man-made rules of our religion, and to see the divine in the ordinary. We call this feast day the Visitation. But it is so much more than just a visit of one person with another. It is a manifestation of how God works through the ordinary encounters of people to build his kingdom on this earth. Our visits will probably never have cosmic implications, but they may have divine implications for the individuals involved. We will never know until they play themselves out. Hollywood would never produce a movie about the visitation because it's too ordinary. But that visit between Mary and Elizabeth changed the world. Now let us go out and change the world with our ordinary lives out of love, recognizing that the divine is in the ordinary.